everyone. Welcome to today's press conference. We will start out with Coach Taylor. We will take questions as we usually do. He will not start with an opening statement, so please use the raise hand function on Zoom and we'll get to them as they come in. Ben Parker, you're up first.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Just early thoughts on the Mustangs. What have you seen from them so far in tape, film, et cetera?
Yeah, really explosive on offense, fast tempo. They got two quarterbacks that can play. You got to be really ready for how fast they're as fast as tempo wise as you'll see in the country. And they play really well with the lead. They get on top, and they've obviously been successful. So we got to be ready for their tempo, and obviously first and second downs really important on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, go against a really good defense that has done a nice job against the run. They're difficult to run against, and they got some good secondary players.
Thank you, Ben. Troy?
Yeah, Coach, what's the availability picture as of right now for the secondary, for the defensive backs at this point?
Who do you got? Ask me and I'll give you information.
Porter.
Porter's unavailable.
Okay. Let's see. Aaron Morris.
Questionable.
Jay Green.
Jay Green's unavailable.
Okay. Zeron Manley.
We'll see. That's a question as well.
Okay.
All right, back to Ben. Nope, or John.
Coach, could you compare the SMU quarterback, Kevin Jennings, to some of the recent quarterbacks that we've seen?
Yeah, I mean, he's really sparked their offense. He's dynamic. It really plays into his skill set really well. He seems to operate really well in a fast tempo offense, dynamic. He just seems like he's really in a rhythm.
Thank you, John. Dylan?
Yeah, Coach, you guys have been, about 50%. You guys have been going for it on fourth down a lot this year, and you guys have been successful about 50% of the time. Analytically, kind of where do you guys hope to be at, numbers wise in terms of percentage of being able to convert on fourth down?
Yeah, I mean, 50% on third down and fourth down is pretty good. A lot of those depends on the situation. We've had analytics wise, we've had a bunch of ones where they told us to go for it on fourth down and didn't feel it was the right move. So we definitely use it as a tool. We'll be aggressive on fourth down for sure. And, obviously you want to get them all. But you also got to be smart about where you do on the field and what part of the game it is. And then also your opponent, how aggressive you're going to have to be in order to give yourself a chance to win. So all those things change the flow of the game. Yeah, so it's kind of how we look at it. We definitely use analytics as a tool, but we don't follow it necessarily to the T.
Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, Troy, I know the beginning of this season, your whole point was we are a better team than we were last year, and we will get better as the season progresses. And I think to the untrained or maybe semi-trained eye, through late in the third quarter of the Clemson game, you really could see that Stanford was an improved team and had improved to that point. From the semi-untrained eye, it doesn't look as if you've made improvement over the last 9 quarters, say. Is that a fair assessment, or do you see things that we...
Yeah, what'd you say? I lost the last part of it. I didn't follow you.
Is that a fair assessment of that you haven't progressed the last 9 quarters, or do you see things in terms of your progression that the untrained eye doesn't?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at who we're playing. So obviously, Syracuse, a very good football team. Then we played Clemson. We were in that game. Virginia Tech, we didn't have a lot of big plays. We did have some injuries. I think they're a really good team. And then obviously this last week, Notre Dame's probably the best defense we've seen. Yeah, I mean, it's when you're playing those type of opponents, you're going to be challenged. And obviously, we have some injuries and some depth issues that happen in a physical season where you're losing guys in the secondary and guy up front and a quarterback out for a game. So as the seasons went on, we've lost players. So it's going to be we're going to be a different team. Now, our goal as a program is to get more depth because even though we will have more depth this year, we're pretty beat up, I mean, it seems like we've had 2 or 3 guys that we lose each week. So that's going to affect your performance. And there's a number of different residuals that take place when you lose a safety and you have to move a nickel or corner to nickel and then play a young corner or so on and so forth. So I don't know, we have 14 guys that are probably injured, so the progress when you don't have your full allotment of players, and in standing in college football, you got to be able to acquire a lot of depth. Obviously, a lot of teams do that through the transfer portal. The team we're playing this week is heavy in the transfer portal. We're not able to do that. So we end up having to use a lot of young players when our starters go down, as opposed to, having 20 guys from the transfer portal. So it's a little different situation for us.
Ben?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just coach on the analytic part, just how exactly do you utilize that tool? Like,
Yeah, the way it works is I'll have somebody on the sidelines and they will just tell me the number. So the book takes into account, your opponent, your success, what you've done, and all those things. Obviously, not up until the game, right? Doesn't take into account weather or any of those things, but score and how you've done in certain situations and how your opponent's done. And so what I'll have somebody just comes over and says the number is 3 or the number is 4. And what that means is on 4th down, the book is telling you that you should go for it if it's 4th and let's say the number was 3 or less. Now, sometimes, I'd look at the situation and be like, yeah, I agree with that. There's been times in the situation where it tells you to go for it on 4th and 9. And, you're just like, I don't know, this doesn't feel like the right time, and the analytics is playing to win the game, so it's sometimes the percentages are really tight and really close. It's just like they'll have a heavy situation where they say highly recommend, and then a situation where they're like, they're not too sure. Obviously we're always playing to win, but also you have to, discern what the situation is in terms of what value you're going to get out of it, as opposed to the risks that are associated. So we do lean heavy on analytics. It's a great tool, but haven't followed it necessarily every single time. I've probably not gone forward on 4th down quite a few times when analytics has told us that maybe we should. But the percentages are sometimes, like a 2% chance more of winning if you go for it on 4th down. It's not like it's heavy. Does that make sense?
Totally. Thank you. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Diego?
Coach, do you have any updates on the availability of Elijah Brown and how he's progressing back from his injury?
Yeah. He's, he is progressed much more rapidly than I initially kind of was told or thought. And so really it's just a matter of, for him, is when he feels comfortable and ready to roll. So I would say it's way ahead of schedule. And now, will that be this week? I don't know if that's possible. I guess it's possible. I don't know that will happen, but he's definitely getting a lot quicker than we thought he would be ready.
Troy?
Yeah, coach, some ups, some downs, and some injuries on the offensive line. How would you assess how things have gone up front for Stanford to this point, halfway through?
Yeah, but done some good things at times. We've ran the ball well at times, so I feel pretty good about their progress. Obviously, we had Levi being out had an effect where we had to kind of move guys around a little bit, but I thought they've done a good job. They've had incredible challenging defensive lines these last 3 weeks especially. And I think they've held up pretty good. Obviously, you know, to get to the level we want them to be at, we got to continue to play better. But if you're looking at comparison in terms of last season and this season, it's not even close. Or we're so much better up front than we were last year.
Troy?
Coach, at various times this year, the pass game, I think, to me, uneven would be a word I would use. There've been some moments, I think, of the 4th and 9 and whatnot, and last week was tough, and I concur that Notre Dame defense was exceptional. Was there more there, or like I guess the broader question is kind of where do you see the pass game right now? How much on the quarterback? How much on receivers? And I know you're trying to put all that together.
Yeah, not good enough, you know. And it's you know, obviously everybody likes to they first look at the quarterback, but it's a full deal, and you know, on me as well. I gotta do a better job of putting our guys in a situation to be successful. All starts with me, and then protection, and be able to get guys out, enough guys out of routes to affect the defense with not exposing our quarterback to get hit. And take too many hits that has a residual effect throughout not only the game, the season. And then being able to win on the outside. So all those things play a part. But I would say, the passing game is not nearly at the standard that I want us to be at. I'm hopeful that will improve, but we're going to compete against some of these really good teams. We're going to have to be much better in the pass game.
Thank you. Shreyas?
Is Brandon Nicholson going to play more?
Yeah, Brandon and Cam Richardson, those guys, you know, all hands on deck. We've got some young guys that are gonna have to play. So, you know, obviously you like for your younger players to get a little bit more time to be seasoned. But you know, for us, like I was saying, if you're not going to be able to dive into the transfer portal, young guys are going to have to come in and play, especially when you start having injuries or guys being out for a little bit. You're going to have to play young players, and that's part of what we use in recruiting is you're going to have an opportunity to play right away. Now, a lot of teams will bring in older guys, which is a huge advantage, you know, be able to bring experienced guys in that have played a lot of football. That's just not kind of how we're going to be built.
Back to Diego.
Yeah, Coach, you guys are going to be playing a SMU team for the first time in what's going to become a yearly series. Does that add any kind of emotion or weight to the game? Anything new in what could possibly become a rivalry?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're gonna play them every year, just like Cal. So I think it's important that you know, you're in a great position to be successful. You know, they've done a really good job building their program in terms of supporting it and transfer portal and all that stuff. They have been all in, and you can see the results. You know, they're competing at a really high level in their first year in the ACC. So they're a challenging team, really well coached, and you know, it'll be a great challenge for us, you know, every year.
Ben?
Yeah, just any update on the availability of Cedric Irvin. What's his status? And then also just in general, how are you kind of assessing the running back room at this point?
Yeah, Cedric is unavailable this week, but we're hopeful to get him back soon. But I think our running backs our young running backs, obviously not having Micah last week kind of hurt us a little bit, but some other guys stepped up. But I feel good about our young running backs. They're improving rapidly. What will happen? That will happen when you play young, you know, and your first few games are going to go really fast, and in terms of your vision and how you see it. And then as you become more comfortable, things start to slow down. So you're seeing that with, you know, Micah and then Chris, and then, you know, we're still hopeful to get Cole Tab back at some point. But yeah, I like our group. You know, you wish they're a little bit more seasoned, but they're getting that now.
Steve?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up there, Troy. You mentioned Micah Ford. Will he be available Saturday?
We'll see. That's a day-to-day deal. You know, we haven't practiced yet this week, so we'll see how he does. I'm hopeful, but you know, until it gets, we'll probably know that later in the week.
Thank you, sir.
John?
Coach, not asking you to tip your hand with specific names, but is the specter of, I don't know, position, that defensive backfield sounds like it's challenged, and would you have to consider moving a player from another, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
receiver to a
question.
defensive?
Yeah, and you know, part of it is who's going to get healthy and be able to play. And then if you take from other positions, obviously that's going to affect the other position, and then the guy's not very experienced. But I would say everything for sure is on the table in terms of being able to put the best guys on the field. We do like our young guys, so you know, you obviously want to give them an opportunity to show what they can do.
Any other questions for Coach Taylor?
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Go Card.
All right, we've got something special for you guys today. We're here with Aiden Flintoff. We'll take questions the exact same way we took them for Coach Taylor, using the raise hand function. Troy?
Aiden, let's just start here. What's your overall sense of the mood of the guys and how they're feeling coming into this week, coming back home, and another opportunity to try to get back in the win column against SMU?
Yeah, I'd say our locker room, we're all really loyal to each other. So we're definitely hurting for the guys who are out, but we're excited for the young guys who are getting opportunities.
Ben?
Yeah, and just talk about how do you kind of maintain your focus, playing a position where maybe you don't always have the ability to control the outcome of the game as much as you like. Just how do you kind of stay locked in and do your thing, even when maybe the game is out of hand, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say one thing that I like to think about always is that, at least for my position, because a lot of it is just kind of the same task, whatever the situation, just recognizing that no punt, for me, no punt, no game is more important than any other, but it's also no less important than any other. They're all the same focus for each one.
John?
And you and I talked last week, and I really appreciated your answers. One of which was, one thing that helps you in the position is sort of not getting perturbed, sort of even keel emotionally. I got the same vibe from Joshua Carty. Is that something you worked to enhance? You're born with this? I mean, I would think at punter, when you got guys running at you and whatnot, just kind of being level and that sort of thing is helpful. Just kind of speak to that.
Yeah. I think that's just kind of like a muscle you can train like anything else. I'm really fortunate to get to work with a great sports psychologist, Dr. Kelly, every week. She's helped me a lot. And yeah, I mean, maybe a certain aspect of it is just like a natural thing, but I've definitely been able to work on that a lot and get better at it. And a lot of it's just experience too.
Thank you, John. Back to Troy.
Yeah, any different variables that you have to take into account while kicking at Stanford Stadium, punting at Stanford Stadium? Does punting in that building, are there any variables that make punting in that building more unique or unique from any other building?
Yeah. I'm sure you could ask Josh more about this stat, but he used to always say that our stadium was one of the harder ones to kick in. I'm not sure about the science behind that, but I think there's some stat about like opposing kickers have like a way lower percentage when they play us at home versus when they're at their own stadiums or even other stadiums. So, you know, maybe it's just something in the air. Maybe it's just something about traveling to California. I don't know, but we're pretty fortunate. Again, we get to go practice in the stadium during the week. So we get pretty used to it. So I don't think I'd be able to speak on any difference as much as maybe, you know, another team would be able to, but I don't notice it too much.
John?
Aiden, just levering off Troy's question. I watch you guys pregame warmups, and you're very ritualized, which sort of makes sense to me. Do you, when you walk out on the field though for a game, are you taking into account wind, where the sun's going to be, maybe punt toward into the eyes of the receiver? Like what, does some of those extra intangible things go into your preparation?
Yeah, I'd say the sun and the eyes is definitely a new one, but that's something I could think about. That definitely wouldn't hurt. I remember in high school, every specialist probably knows this, but the returners would always make me kick where I face the sun and they wouldn't be facing the sun. So it's always something I could think about. I'd say as far as wind goes, I'd like to just see what it's doing at, the top of the stadium, if there are any flags, and then also just down by me. One thing we heard about Notre Dame when we were there is that we really just got to stick with like the field level wind. But it really just changes. But I like to think about just what's immediately around me because most of the time, if I hit a good ball, it'll fade right and just go where I want it to. So,
Diego?
You guys have had a lot of early kickoffs this year so far, both on the road and at home. How does that affect your routine, and is it easier to deal with at home or on the road?
yeah, it's a great question. It's definitely new with all the ACC stuff. I'd say as far as specialists go, and the whole team too, we definitely are a lot more focused on taking care of our bodies because the travel, being on a plane for a few hours can definitely make you like stiff or a little tight. So we're very mindful of that. We're wearing like compression tights, doing all sorts of things to, keep us fresh on those flights too. Yeah, I'd say the big theme is just it's not any different. And I'd say it's because our staff has done a good job really preparing us, the nutritionists and strength staff for these travels.
Thank you, John.
Aiden, in a punting situation, not a pooch, but like you say, Stanford has the ball on its own 25, and you're back there, and you're punting. You're obviously trying to get off a great one. Quick get off time. Are you thinking there's got to be some combination of hang time and maximum distance? Are those two sort of things are things you're thinking about when there's a situation where you're just trying to back them up?
Yeah, so you're talking about like an open field punt, just
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say with each punt that I do, I like to think about three things: distance, hang time, and direction. And a general rule of thumb for a lot of punters is trying to get 2 out of the 3. Obviously, if you get 2 out of the 3, but that means you hit like a 5-yard punt, maybe that's not what you want. But as long as you get like, a requisite amount of, the other one. So say you hit maybe more of a driven ball, but it goes far and it goes out of bounds. Well, that keeps all your net yardage and, it gets the team a lot of good field position. So I'd say for me, just I don't think about anything in particular. I just think about, just doing my technique, hitting my ball because I trust my training and I know that the way I've trained, if, when I get it off right, it works out well. So yeah, I'd say that's what I think about.
John, follow up?
Yep. And this is a vanity question. Just when you're goofing around, maybe in the summer or whatnot, the furthest you have punted a football in your life that you're aware of, because it's, some of you guys, when you just hit it right, it's sort of like the perfect golf swing. You always strive for it, you never hit it, but I'm sure there is a longest ball for Aiden Flintoff. Or what would it be?
Yeah. I'd say, well, on the ground, like including roll and stuff, there were some in the off season. Connor did this too. We'd all just be, punting on the field, just hitting bombs or whatever. And, occasionally we'd catch a wind at our back, get a crazy roll, and we'd be kicking like out of our end zone and like say it was a windy day and it would roll to like the other like 10 or something. That's probably not as realistic as, having a returner back there, but it's fun nonetheless. I'd say the farthest one in the air that I've kicked, I remember I hit one at a camp that was like 61 one time, but that was as a sophomore in high school. So I'd say my legs probably gotten bigger since then. But I don't keep track of it too much. But maybe something in the 60s in the air.
Thank you, John. Any other questions for Aiden? All right, thank you so much, Aiden. We'll be right back with Jay-Sean Frost-Ros. All right, we are back with Jay-Sean Frost-Ros. We will take questions the exact same way we took them for Coach Taylor and Aiden. John, you're up first.
Yeah, the turnover where you ripped it out of the Notre Dame players out of his body into yours. Did you ever done that in a game before?
I think last year I haven't physically took it out of someone's hand, but I've like attempted. I think last year against Notre Dame, against the quarterback, I forced a fumble and I recovered it, and then this year I just took it away. So
Ben?
Yeah, you've been kind of going under some position changes, Jay-Sean, just kind of going from like corner to safety, different defensive back positions. Just what has that been like for you?
but it's been good, just learning all the positions and just trying to help my team in the best way I can. Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me what position I play. I just want to help the team win and improve. So I'm fine with anything. And I like all the positions too. So
Troy?
Yeah, Jay Sean, in what ways do you think you've improved the most so far this season, and what sort of those things you're going to be counting on, especially going forward with a shorthanded secondary now?
yeah, this year I just wanted to improve. I feel like I've been improving on my communication, and just like being more patient with my calls, and just like when I'm on the field, just like thinking less. Because I know when I play football, I'm like, if I think less, I know if I do something at 100%, I know what I'm capable of doing. So just less thinking on the field and just attacking every play and just being me out there on the field and just having fun.
Diego?
How you doing, Jay Sean? I was wondering how was the atmosphere at Notre Dame, and like, did you guys feel prepared for that kind of atmosphere? And how is it compared to other ones you've seen on the road so far this season?
Yeah, I feel like we'd have a good amount of different atmospheres this year. Notre Dame was it was beautiful. It was beautiful campus and everything. They had nice fans. It was loud. Third down, it was loud. But yeah, it was one of the louder stadiums. I would say Syracuse is probably the loudest I've played in so far.
John? John?
Jay Sean, what are your initial impressions of SMU, the team that you guys are going to face this week?
I think they're a really good team. They have a really good quarterback. They have a couple good receivers. And they have a player that I know, Jake Bailey, played at my high school. So they're really well-rounded team. So yeah, I just can't wait to get out there and play and just help the team.
Steve?
Hey, Sean, you know, the whole thing, any football team, that is next man up. And that's an understood sentiment to have. But guys are human too. When you see as many guys who've gone down in your secondary, how do you guys fight the, oh no, not again, woe is me, natural sentiment that a lot of us would have?
Yeah, I just tell my guys to just take advantage of the opportunities, because those opportunities are special, and I feel like if I spread that to like all the freshmen, all the sophomores, and like the lower class, just take advantage like of the opportunity you have, because like you never know when your last snap's gonna be. Like you never know if you'll get hurt this play. You never know if something happens to you. So I just letting them know that like just take advantage of everything. Take advantage of every rep, every practice, every time you watch film, every time you're on the field. Just everything. It's a blessing.
Thank you, sir.
Troy?
Yeah, I'm sure it differs from one secondary spot to the next, but when you have a quarterback and when you're facing a quarterback like Kevin Jennings for SMU, who can certainly run the ball and be a big time dual threat, what sort of pressure points does that put on the secondary potentially in particular?
Well, it does a lot, because you know it's not a quarterback that is just gonna stay in the pocket and you can just cover your guy down the field. Like you're gonna have to cover your guy. He's gonna be scrambling, so a play might be longer than usual. You might guard your receiver or your player for an extended amount of seconds. It might be 10 seconds. So that does take a toll on the defense, but I think we'll do a good job at it, and we'll practice it in practice.
John?
Jay Sean, I'm impressed when I see college football players who switch positions or who raise their hand and say, look, we have a need here. I'll move. I mean, Emmett Mosley played running back. Travis Hunter at Colorado plays both sides. That's not really moving a position, but guys who have changed positions or who might have to change positions, can you speak to the attitude of a player? Is that exciting? Is that like, oh, I don't know, are guys different that way? Collins went from outside to inside, although that's still you're defending the pass, but the attitude of players to taking on different positions in college.
Yeah, well, my attitude on it is whichever way I could, be on the field. Like I'll play defensive tackle if they ask me to. So whichever position they need me, I play. I just love the game. I love tackling people. I love contact. So whichever position they need me to play, I'm willing to play. So that's my mindset on it.
Thank you, John. Any other questions for Jay Sean? All right, that's the end of today's press conference. Thank you so much for attending, and we hope to see you at Stanford this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.